And blessings, it's your boy James Anthony. And as we move together, we define limitless. I want to start off by saying it's been a little while since I've been on, and that's because I've been convicted. I've been convicted by the Holy Spirit wholeheartedly. Like, grew up very different outside of religion, and a series of events unfolded, and I found myself getting baptized in a church outside of the world purview. I reached out to Patrick, and it's been a little while since we jumped on, and I wanted to kind of catch up. So, Patrick, how you doing, big bro?
Doing good. How are you, James?
I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I'm just a sinner saved by grace, man. Look at what's going on in the world today. It's just so bananas. I mean, every day there's something so horrendous hitting the, global stage, from publication to major broadcasting network. Just insanity. My question to you is, I know that we're very far from global adoption, right? But if you check in some of these communities, you would think that there's a switch being flipped tomorrow and Nasara Jacera is going live, currencies revaluing and everything else on this stuff. So what's your take on that?
So anytime there's a cascade, it's destructive. So I know everyone would love the switch to flip and it to be an overnight XRP is worth $1 million. What happens next is the bigger concern or question for everybody is, okay, if XRP is worth $1 million tomorrow, which it's not going to be, but let's just say it is, what are you going to do with yours? What are you going to do with all that power, all that wealth that you suddenly have? And if there is a group of powerful people maneuvering to place XRP into the position where they're able to flip a switch, then you have to assume those people don't want there to be a massive sell-off the very next minute of people who are just cashing out their $1 million XRP. And of course there would be. So we should at least understand that even if that entire scenario was plausible and possible, that's not the way that it will go down.
I agree. Now, a few months ago, I would have said no. I would have debated it, but I agree with you, because I think that's kind of why we're seeing these antics. I mean, people doing. I don't even think it makes sense to really do chart reading at this stage of the game, because these assets move very differently. I definitely agree with that.
Well, and this is financial advice, although I'm not a qualified financial advisor. When it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what the price of the assets you're holding is, as much as it matters how much cash flow you're bringing in. So if you were to win the lottery tomorrow and it's $1 billion lottery or whatever it is, the Powerball, the Mega Millions, and you just suddenly deposit $1 billion into your bank account. Most lottery winners, if you go and do the research and look at the studies, the large majority of them lose it all, go broke, end up murdered, end up on drugs, end up committing suicide, all types of terrible things, right? And the reality is most people can't handle that kind of wealth. If you can't handle $1,000 in your bank account and hold on to it and know what to do with it, you can't handle $1 billion. That's just the unfortunate reality. So when it comes to the price of XRP or any other asset, the price is not what matters. It's the way that you're moving and controlling your funds to create cash flow opportunities and using that cash flow to secure your future. $1 billion will not secure your future.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe $1 billion may secure my future. I'm not too sure about that, but no, I agree. My life has been kind of backwards, right? So I've gone from jails, institutions, death, drug addiction, to almost 4 years ago getting sober. So I've lived that horrible life. I'm in the process now of learning how to manage money, because that's one thing we were never taught. Like, we were never taught how to deal with money, and it's very different from what I thought it to be, right? Having a lot of money is dangerous if you don't know what to do with it. And I agree with you. If there's no income coming in, then it doesn't make a difference what you have. You have to figure out a way, which I'm in the process now of doing in real time. You have to figure out a way how to bring, some kind of a flow of income. Absolutely. I agree with that. What's going on with Reaper, man?
Reaper is always good. So we're in the alpha testing right now for debt reaping. So we're doing company internal testing, and we're expecting in 1 to 2 weeks we should be able to start bringing in beta testers. And we'll be ready to start killing some debt off. And then we also have ASC phase 2 and phase 3. I've teased a little bit about how those will work already. But phase 2 for ASC will be paying out Bitcoin and Ethereum, Litecoin, XRP, and those types of things as passive income as well. Phase 3 will be basically giving you a gift card voucher and with a partner company where you'll be able to go and buy precious metal, bullion, gold, silver, etc. So it'll be a completely decentralized monetary fund, index fund, if you will, but in a manner in which we never custody your assets, and you can earn simply by holding. For ARC, we haven't yet told anyone what phase 2 is about, but it's going to be big.
I've been out of the loop. I see. Every time I try to jump into the Telegram, it's just there's 1,000, 1,500 messages, so I just skip to the bottom, and I shouldn't, because wow, mind-blowing news right there. So bring it back to phase 2 of Ascension. We're talking about being able to actually receive rain in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Why these ones?
So we've got the hard slots, which are the Marshall tokens, and since the purpose of Ascension is basically a index or a mutual fund that's a hedge against the market because you're buying the entire market, we want you to have hard slots, and we want you to have hard money being the most stable cryptocurrencies that back the whole of the market. So we're going to go and pick the top 5 to 10 that are the base pairs, the layer ones that make the market. And what you'll be able to do is when you log in to do your debt reaping, and it's reading the balance of your RPR, it's also reading the balance of your Ascension, and you'll be able to manually whitelist your address at which you want to receive the rain for those tokens based on your Ascension holdings. And then we'll be doing a distribution of those hard money cryptocurrencies from the top of the rung.
Are they officially, do you guys have the 5, 10 already, or is there going to be like a community vote on?
I can guarantee Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin will be on there. Avalanche is one we're looking at. XDC is one we're looking at. HBAR is one we're looking at.
Yeah, I tell you, bro. Wow. I love what I hear. So, I mean, I can only imagine what you've been doing behind the scenes with partnerships and networking and connections. What else can you give us, man? That's pretty explosive. That's pretty explosive stuff.
Yeah. So that, of course, is going to help the hard slots as well, because right now 100% of the Ascension rain is split between 12 different XRP ledger tokens. If we start paying out in Bitcoin, Ethereum, those types of things, and it's going to likely be competitive return-wise to other staking assets out there or other models out there, then what that means is even if the XRP ledger tokens were only getting 5% out of that 100% vote, odds are that'll still be a greater amount monetarily wise than what they're currently getting. Now, what that also does is it takes Zoge and Schmeckles and Treasury and these XRP ledger assets, and it ties them, it hitches their wagon to the horse that is Bitcoin. In the same way Reaper is hitched to XRP by having the permanent drip fund, now we'll be hitching it and Ascension to Bitcoin itself and these other market drivers. So basically, what it does is it makes sure that those tokens are not going to be left behind.
Very smart. Very smart. How'd you come up with this? Excuse me. Is this like something you've been kicking around like with the board, or is this something you pulled from an AI algorithm? Or
have you ever watched the movie The Crudes?
Yeah,
movies where he has ideas that come from deep down in his stomach.
Since I don't have a brain, they're coming from my stomach down deep below and then up again into my mind.
Do you see Reaper moving into the broader market before we get some kind of clarity or something from XRP? Or
I think debt reaping will beat the bull run out the gate. Not that it would be a bad thing if it didn't. Either way, a bull run is a good thing for the market. But if debt reaping's out within open beta within a month or so here, then that's probably going to give us some good legs to run on for this next bull run. I do think that it has a crossover to where this will no longer be just a cryptocurrency. It's going to be something that will be an essential part of the finances for every single citizen of the United States and every westernized country and soon the rest of the world. So we are looking at this. When I do talk to my board, the things I'm talking to them about is scalability and things of that nature. And I'm comparing ourselves to Coinbase and Robinhood and SoFi. And I'm looking at the number of employees they have, and I'm looking at, okay, well, what is their segment? Who are they servicing? And who do I need to start hiring as soon as this launches to build and scale this to be a global fintech that is servicing, your parents and your grandma and grandpa and your baby cousin. It doesn't matter. Everyone is going to have debts, and everyone's going to need some help in that regard in a different way moving forward.
This is my first time. Me and you, we've had plenty of conversations. I love having conversations with you. Seriously, you're very intelligent and very eloquent. So I do honor and appreciate. But this is the first time I'm hearing fintech. So did you see Reaper.Financial being some kind of a fintech?
Ultimately, we are a fintech.
Yeah.
And all blockchain and cryptocurrency is fintech. But I think the differentiator between fintech and a cryptocurrency is just a token, right? It's just a single unit of measure. Whereas what Reaper is doing is a suite of services that is going to be on its own platform. We're going to have our own exchange, our own wallets, and ultimately we're going to be something that services everybody. So in the same sense that PayPal or Coinbase or Robinhood are fintechs, we are going to be transitioning from being a blockchain asset provider to being a true fintech.
Loving what I'm hearing, and the fact that I have a line on you and am able to communicate with you is just priceless. What are the plans for Ascension, if any?
So Ascension and Reaper currently balance off of each other because the Ascension is based off the Reaper vote. Once Reaper brings in debt reaping, most people won't have the incentive to go out and vote for the tokens, right? Especially, and no offense meant to this, but some of the smaller XRP Ledger tokens will kind of be an afterthought to many of the voters, right? And that's okay, because as we go into phase 2 and phase 3, in which we bring in bullion and gold, silver, platinum, it doesn't have to have Ascension's voting tied to Reaper at that point. So once we transition from phase 2 into phase 3 for Ascension, we will be transitioning Ascension into its own voting mechanism.
Seriously. Wow. Just incredible, bro. I mean, I'm like envisioning it. Every time I speak to you, I'm able to do that because, you articulate very well. What's going on with ARC, man? Talk to me about ARC. I know we've had a couple of, what are they calling them?
Deluge. So we have deluge now for ARC, and ARC As you know, it pays out in Reaper token and Ascension for passive income, and it's also doing donations to currently 4 charities. We will begin adding charities to that, and of course, with our system with the debt reaping tool, and then the addition of supply chain distribution, basically, which is Ascension. What we'll be able to do is specialize the tool for charities, and we'll be able to start adding many more charities with phase 5 for Reaper, which is going after small businesses and showing small businesses how Reaper can widen their margins for debt reaping. We also need to be able to provide a product to small business charities or 501c3 companies. So that will be ARC, basically mirroring what is happening in Reaper in phase 5. And then for ARC phase 3, we're going to have something very special, which is really going to change the game. And I'll say what the problem I was trying to solve was when I started thinking about this was, how do you get, and this is something I was thinking about really before I ever launched Reaper. But the question is, how do you get 2 homeless people in an age of digital money where there's no cash left in society? And let's say you've got a homeless person asking for a donation. How do they receive that without being connected to the internet on a device that is secure? And how do they transfer that money offline to another person in another offline device who is another homeless person, so that they can now trade or barter amongst themselves? So once we cross that barrier, that's where I see mass adoption of digital assets, because that's something that means once we're there, anyone and everybody can do this. And we have a solution, and that's what ARC phase 3 is going to present.
Street teams. We need street teams. Let me ask you a question. So we're talking hardware devices now?
Something of that nature. It's not going to be a hardware device exactly.
So hardware devices of some kind, of sorts.
Some kind, yes. And that's really the idea. I put out a tweet through Reaper's Twitter a couple days back, and really that's the idea of all of our assets, our suite of services, is that cryptocurrency until now, the only thing you could really do with it was you could sell it for US dollar, or you could use it directly and you can make purchases. That's fine, right? Purchases are obviously purchases, payments, transfers of value are a massive market, clearly, right? We're already a $1 trillion market, and at height we were a $3 trillion market. What's bigger is debt, $400 trillion market.
Monstrous.
Yep. And also bigger is supply chain, which is distribution of goods, and that is Ascension and what Ascension is going to be doing. So we're including in that gold, silver, platinum, palladium, so on and so forth. And actually, you'll have your pick of what metals you're into. And that also includes e-voucher derivatives, which I don't personally recommend, but there are people that will be preferring that. And then for charity, it's also helping those charities that are putting hands on the problem with boots on the ground, doing the real thing, right? So Reaper is affecting your mortgage, the house that you live in, the car that you drive, the education that you receive. Ascension is going to put physical gold or silver in your safe, in your house. And ARC is going to affect the people who need it most, but also the people you see on a regular basis on your street corner, the people who are out there, affecting your society, whether that's negative or positive. So the big thing about Reaper.Financial and our suite of services and our fintech, as we become a fintech, is that we are taking things that are blockchain and we are making them physical impacts on your daily life.
Yeah, well, so my first question to that is when a person starts a company, I mean, even especially in the fintech space, the blockchain space, digital asset space, they go after one thing, do it well, and then move on, or don't do it that well and fail. How is it possible for you to be launching several products in completely different arenas and have each one of them tie into the other and do well? I mean, how's that possible?
Well, I'm a little bit different. But really, I would say I am going after one thing, and that one thing is just a lot bigger than what most companies are going after. Companies are typically going after profit or money, and I don't fault them for that. I'm going after humanity. I want to improve humanity in a very different way, in a different way than Elon, you know, who is probably the only other person out there that is after a similar goal. But I want to make human quality of life something far beyond what it is, and I want to make it what I know it can be.
Good on you, man. I honor that and respect that. That's a perfect segue for what I want to talk about next. So over the past month and a half or so, ChatGPT has just taken the internet by storm, and there are hundreds of apps already spun off. In fact, I figured out how to implement it into my Siri, so I now have ChatGPT running through my Siri, right? But the point that I'm getting at is our very first conversation months ago, you mentioned something along the lines of AI becoming so obnoxiously big that most jobs are going to go away. Well, I just saw a broadcast of some university or something that they've been running for 3 or 4 years, UBI, the universal basic income payments in a specific country, and it's worked really well. And with the way AI has just taken, I mean, it blew up faster than digital assets, which blew up faster than the dot-com boom, right? So I mean, it's exponential, and it was within 5 days. I think it reached like 1 million or something like that for ChatGPT. What are your thoughts? Because this is happening right now in real time.
And we actually spent good time on this during our last board meeting as well, where we were talking about marketing and building a marketing plan. And we're like, well, if we go to this PR firm, this and that, this is what they give us. But Ian, who's our CMO, went in ChatGPT and had it punch out a marketing plan for us. Yeah. And it was very much like what we would get if we went to a firm and paid $10,000 to get the same product. So, and I actually used it as well. I was using it for burn contracts. I'm not by trade a coder. I can manipulate code a little bit and see problems in it, but I don't iterate my own code. So I use ChatGPT to write burn contracts for Bitcoin, Avalanche, Litecoin, Ethereum, and it knocks them out with ease.
Like that, bro. Like that.
Yep. And then I can copy and paste that right into basically a Docker and Postman, and it'll tell me and correct the code for me, and I'm good to go. So I definitely think there's going to be significant changes to the workforce due to ChatGPT, but it's really just the beginning. Robotics plus AI, we are looking at a period in humanity where very soon, 20 years might be too much. If you think 20 years ago, well, a little more than 20 years ago, we were in the 90s, and you think about how much has changed.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think about 60 to 80, 85% of the population, somewhere in there, is just not going to have employment in the next 20 years because there just won't be anything we need from them.
And mind you, I just saw something late last night that highlighted the fact that Bill Gates or Microsoft, when ChatGPT, OpenAI, when they first launched, it was open source. Well, when you have Microsoft putting billions of dollars and now adding more, this technology is falling into the hands of the few, big bro.
So Microsoft actually owns the rights to ChatGPT and the rights to modify the code and the inputs. So I know a lot of people think ChatGPT is OpenAI, which was Elon Musk. He actually is no longer related to that company, and it is Microsoft. So if you want to, test that, go and ask it about Bill Gates, and it tells you don't be a conspiracy theorist and don't make any accusations, which is pretty funny. And I know
it's even biased. Yeah, it's even biased.
Elon and a few others have been pointing out the bias that is innately part of it, from things like writing a poem about Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. I know I was looking at that, and it's simple, stupid things, right?
The racist thing too. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
I didn't see that one yet, but it's natural. There is going to be bias in a computer system because it's an algorithm that learns. So if it learns, it's going to create a bias universally. So, it eventually will figure out something that doesn't, hopefully. But I don't see that being a problem that's solved anytime soon with AI.
Yeah, I've been playing with GPT-3 a little bit too. And they say that GPT doesn't go past 2021. But if you run it through GPT-3, it does. It pulls information in real time. It gives information in real time. Let something loose like that, and you let it loose, and there are people that aren't, on the world stage anywhere, that are really intelligent, that are cooking up something in their basement, that are learning how to code. It's 7-year-old, the 9-year-old, the 13-year-old, and so there's already been some just incredible applications that have popped up. It's I'm having fun playing with all these different kinds of editing and content creation and text to voice, text to speech, text to video. I mean, there's so many different really cool ones. There's a note one that I'm gonna start playing with too, but it's really incredible and it's happening in real time. So I wanted to get your perspective. Yeah.
So the bigger concern in all of this, and I would tie in Neuralink and CRISPR right into this concern, is that we're approaching a time where if humanity, basically what it does is it turns it so that every individual out there in human evolution and in the human realm, right, every single individual can be a nuclear threat. So, and I mean that quite literally. If you look up the nuclear Boy Scout, there's actually been 3 teenagers. I think there was a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and an 11-year-old have created nuclear reactors basically in their basement or garage. And this is kind of pre-AI and just, textbooks. I think the earliest one was in early to mid 90s. So we're talking about some very intelligent people that are very capable, and to quote Jurassic Park, they thought about whether or not they could, but not whether or not they should, right?
Yeah.
So once you start bringing in CRISPR-Cas9, AI, Neuralink, we reach a spot where almost any individual person will have the ability to create a weapon of mass destruction, to create things we can't even imagine right now.
Wait, time out. Let me cut you off. You were in the service, right? And so you spent a lot of time. Let me ask you this question. Is it true that when something comes to the market, what's it called? The shadow government, the shadow military have been playing with whatever it was 20 years prior. Is that the case?
Probably more than 20.
Wow. So they've already done this tenfold and already have ran all types of tests to see where this can go. And they put it into every kind of algorithm and equation possible.
Well, that's the thing, is it was much more controlled under those environments, right? So let's just say they gave somebody superhuman intelligence with AI augmentation at some point, and saying they did or there's a theory about that. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, let's say that happened. That would have been 1 or 2 people controlled in a lab, overseen by a few hundred doctors with specific applications and mission sets and so on and so forth. And I'm not a fan of big government by any means, but under that condition, I would say they probably controlled that very closely. But what we're talking about now is 8 billion people with equal access and opportunity to use something that could very easily be weaponized. And to put that in perspective, not just the 3 nuclear teenagers, but we recreated the atom bomb in the 1930s, 1939, and that was during time when we still had horse and buggy on the road. It was mostly gravel roads, and we had AM radio stations and xylophones, for radios, and a little 8-inch non-color, non-audio TV, silent movies, sort of thing. So when you start thinking about that from a perspective of, okay, what if a bad actor has this, and let's just say ChatGPT completely as it is, go look up how common is uranium. How do I refine uranium?
They just did that. They just dumbed it down, right, and threw mad restrictions on it because there was somebody who right away created a bomb, and another person who figured out the world's most vulnerable banks and how to access their, and that happened like almost instantaneously.
And it's going to continue to happen, and they won't be able to control that. There'll be ways around. There'll be ways to rephrase the questions. There'll be people who are intelligent enough to go and do these things. So I think what it does is it puts humanity in a situation where we basically have maybe 100 years, maybe 200 years, if we're really lucky, to either ascend as a species, and I mean ascend on a consciousness level, or we're going to destroy ourselves.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to my messages lately, but the more that I read the Bible, the more that I learn the Bible, that saying that you have said before pops in my head. The more you learn, the more you find out you don't know, the more you don't know, right? And so we're living in a time that really parallels the beginning of Revelations, like really precisely, right? And there hasn't been anything in that Bible that hasn't come to pass precisely the way it was written about. Yeah, very interesting topic. Didn't mean to sway us, but it's just a fact.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I think there's plenty of merit there, and if people only embrace that they don't know the answer, because ultimately that's it. And having worked in the military, having been overseas, a forensic psychologist, I'll tell you what goes through a person's mind when they become a terrorist or a radical or an extremist is conviction. They are convicted that they absolutely know something, and that is the scariest thing a human being can do, is have absolute unwavering conviction. Because if you can get them to that point, they will do anything. They'll blow themselves up. Even when they're a pregnant 30-year-old woman, they will strap a suicide vest to their children. That's what conviction does. That's what knowing does to people. Don't ever assume that you know anything.
Yeah, well, I could just attest to that conviction. Never felt it the way that I felt it now. I've never in my life felt it the way that I feel it now, and that's why I enrolled in a biblical theology program, a discipleship program, because I don't want to take any more secondhand information or anybody else's perspective on what this means. I need to understand now wholeheartedly for myself, right? I need to be led by the Holy Spirit myself. And
so now, James, this is where I'd counter. That's the most dangerous thing, though, right? You can be led by the Holy Spirit, and you believe and are convicted that is exactly what God intends for you, and and then you can convince yourself that God's plan for you is to do something that you would have otherwise determined immoral or unethical, but because you have that conviction, you would be willing.
Well, no. Only because the conviction that comes with, at least for me, with Christianity, right? Most Christians think they're Christian, but they're not, okay? They're just following beliefs and traditions, okay? My conviction is that I am a sinner. I don't deserve to go to heaven. And because of that, I will spend the rest of my life in grace, with integrity and compassion, doing everything I possibly can to help others. You know what I'm saying? But that's my conviction.
We all have our own beliefs and angles. Just I guess to reiterate the
I get what you're saying.
Know that you don't know saying is more what I meant by that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I got tears coming into my eyes. That's how much I just felt that right there. Because it's real, bro. It's real. You're looking at the world and how horrible it is right now, and how selfish and evil people are. And it's just like, when does it stop? When does it stop? I mean, we fell from grace when Satan convinced Eve to take the bite of the forbidden fruit, which is the tree of knowledge, so to speak, right? And so from the beginning, it's been like this. So how does it end? In your view, where do we go from here?
I think we divide into different camps, to be honest. Not that we ever weren't before, but there will be those who are so committed to a path that they will self-destruct, and there will be those who have chosen to no longer accept the lie and to step away from that lie, and they will choose another path. And as time marches on, eventually those two paths will have to collide again, and will probably come to a head.
Do you think that as people, those who choose to accept the truth, I think if there's real disclosures available to people, I think no more hidden stuff, no more we got to play the guessing game or decode this, right? Like, if there are real disclosures, yeah, it's going to be tough for a lot of people to swallow a lot of this stuff, no doubt. But at least from there, we can build a foundation to move forward, right?
Phase 12 is going to make that much more clear for everybody.
Yeah, because I would have no issue. I mean, I'm fully aware there's a lot of evil in this world, and there's a lot of really sinister and nefarious things happening, right? But do I think that we can have peace on earth? Like, I don't think that. I think the way this reality is set up is it's set up to balance itself out. There always has to be a good and a bad, an up and a down, a left and a right, a black and a white, so to speak. But if information becomes available that can be proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, then of course I would be in the camp to support, evolve, and grow and help others to do the same.
And that's very much what Phase 12 is going to accomplish. So I can't go into detail on that just yet, but let's just say that things that were unknowable will be known beyond reasonable doubt.
I'll tell you what, it's been a fantastic journey with you thus far. This protocol, Reaper.Financial, is one of the, I sold off most of my other assets. XRP, Reaper Arc, and Ascension. And then I have all the hard slots so that I can receive whatever drops are coming, but I'm only focusing on Flare, XRP, and Reaper. I'm not focusing on anything else anymore. It's impossible to really get into the specifics of each network and really learn what's going on in real time because it's moving so fast. So you have to choose a few and you have to put the effort in. That's just my experience. So I guess what I was saying was I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here for the long haul. Big bro.
Much appreciated.
Patrick, I love talking with you. Hopefully we can get these chats started up again. What do you think? Yeah?
Yep. Sounds good.
All right, we're going to sign off. Peace and blessings, everyone. Always, always, always dwell in the shadow of the Most High God. Peace.